Pero la verdad es que todos estos elementos que nos rodean, cuando hablamos del agua, cuando hablamos de las montañas, nos inspiran a estar aquí, nos inspiran a tener las conversaciones que vamos a tener y a escuchar a las personas que estamos aquí. Es gracias a estos elementos que nos conectamos, es gracias a los elementos que estamos aquí. Y por lo tanto, esta vista tan inspiradora, este lugar tan inspirador en el que estamos, está muy conectado con todo lo que con todas las conversaciones que vamos a tener el día de hoy. Vamos a empezar con nuestros keynote speakers y voy a llamar al escenario a Tony Carr, President of Halloran Foundation. Tony.
Okay. Sounds okay in the back? Good. So, I am so happy to be here. I feel that there is so much energy in this room. It's like the connections that you will make, that you have made, and the connections that you will renew in terms of friends. You may even discover a new best friend during this experience, because it's really all about the people, as we heard from Nexus. When you were making your presentation, I was thinking, next, us. Nexus, next, us. I'm sure you thought that a long time ago. But to me, that's a very powerful message. So it's great for me to be here. I was thinking about how you feel when you're happy. And we all experience that sensation in a different way. And so I was thinking that it kind of starts here, it travels to your heart, and if it's really, really real, it lands in your panza. That's where, for me, happiness resides. That's where good decisions feel like they're really good. So a big thanks to Michelle and Abby for the invitation. I was so happy last night when I saw Michelle. I haven't seen you in a long time. And the first thing I said was, "You're having a boy." And she said, "No, I'm having boys." So I had the privilege of being the youngest child with 3 older sisters. I used to think that was a curse, but it's actually turned out to be one of the greatest blessings. And they all had 4 kids. And so my unofficial task was to predict the sex of the child. So I want to warn you, though, Michelle, there's a possibility that there might be a third. It's like you never know. Oftentimes, like my friend who's a triplet from Chile, his 2 sisters were born, girl 1, girl 2, delivered by their father, by the way. And they thought the twins, that was it. And his father left the delivery room and returned to his office practice, only to discover later that the nurse who was taking care of who was really doing all the work, by the way, delivered my friend Pedro. So the moral of the story, Michelle, is there may be a Pedro in your life. Okay, so we'll see. So it's great for me to be here to sort of get away from the turmoil and chaos in Washington. It's a nightmare that many of us are living during the day. It's like this cannot go on, and it will not go on. So I have not been this high since my wife and I went to La Paz, 12,000 feet up high. And it was so funny when we checked into the hotel, they offered coca leaves and oxygen. We took both. We needed both. We asked for more. As a send-off from my home in Fresno, California, my good wife brewed coca tea. And I think the coca tea has prevented me from suffering the pain and suffering of altitude sickness. And so I'm ready. I'm ready for fun. And after all, life is all about, the people that we meet. That's why we're here. I mean, we'll learn facts and figures, but what really matters is how many people you can connect with. And it's not a matter of time, it's a matter of passion. So, I'm very excited to talk about my reflections about impact investing, which has been a part of my life for a long time. I see it as a movement, just like Nexus is a movement. And there are connecting points between, obviously, impact investing and Nexus. But I have some current news. This is like hot off the press today. And I'll read the news bulletin, which is really exciting. Okay, today's news. More than 1,000 impact investors filled the conference center of Amsterdam on Wednesday for the Global Impact Investing Networks Investor Forum. In just 10 years, we've built an industry. 10 years, think about that. Declared the GIN's director, Amit Bori. But we need to move more capital at a vastly different pace to meet the many challenges that we face. Again, 10 years, when you think about the progress, most of us are so forward-thinking that we don't spend that much time reflecting on what has been, because what really matters is what is and what will be. So, we published a book last year. It was a big undertaking. We had never done anything like this before. The book is called The Pursuit of Human Well-Being. The book traces the recent history of human development to learn about health, education, and poverty in the world. To our surprise, we found many reasons to be cheerful and very optimistic. Many great improvements have occurred in the world despite what we hear from the media. The global economic system pulled millions of people out of poverty, particularly in India and particularly in China. Amazing. Martin Luther King told us, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Poverty is the worst injustice of all. People rose out of poverty at astounding rates. In 1990, 40% of the world lived in poverty. 25 years later, poverty declined to 10%. Imagine poverty going from 40 to 10 in 25 years, and 1 billion people moved out of poverty. Amazing. The success of the movement to eliminate poverty is living proof of how the world community, us, can organize and make the impossible possible. Now the UN is challenging us with the goal of no poverty by 2030. I hope I'm around. But we can do it. We can do it. The great international progress in human well-being has helped to create the momentum which set the stage for impact investing. The world community is being challenged once again to make the impossible possible. Worldwide investing for both social impact and financial return. What could be better? Impact investing is a remarkable story of how a social movement went viral in a very short period of time, and how a new investment industry was born and continues to grow and continues to prosper. It's an amazing story of how we created a social movement to build a new investment industry. Big, very big commitments of capital are now flowing into impact investing. Some of the world's biggest investment firms are creating dedicated impact funds. For example, Blackstone, one of the biggest, announced a $1 billion impact fund this year for health and well-being. BlackRock, the world's largest investment firm, stated that every investment must make a positive contribution to society. This is a huge political and cultural breakthrough, the consequences of which are yet to come. The recent Impact Investor Report announced that there is continued growth and maturity in the impact market. No one knows how much money has actually flowed into impact, but it's estimated that in 2018, it exceeded $500 billion. Now, many investors are looking for a change, for a new approach, and for a new system of political economy. Using investments to generate social good has moved quickly. Impact investing was initially driven by younger investors, millennials, and socially minded investors, foundations. As a foundation, we were looking for a new investment approach that would make a positive contribution to the world. Many impact investors give priority to social returns over market returns, especially when we use our money in a catalytic way. There's very strong support in the impact world to invest in women-led businesses. It's just smart investing, and it creates a more equitable world. Impact investing drives more capital to women founders than traditional firms do. The really good news is that major international finance institutions are committing big dollars to invest in women-led businesses. Investing in women is finally getting global attention and action. My mother would be so happy. It's interesting to think about those significant people in your past and how their hearts and how they have influenced who you are, what you're doing in your life. Obviously, we don't walk alone. We walk in the footsteps of great people and on the backs of giants. The big question is whether impact investing will remain a small niche market or become a new industry. that directs large sums of capital for social good. Another big question among investors is how long will it take before we see the social benefits and the financial returns? In my experience, impact investments take more time, more patience, more time, more patience to become financially self-sustaining. The social impact usually comes first. Let's take a closer look at the impact. Thank you. Let's take a closer look at the impact movement and its interesting history, and see how it sort of fit within that framework of 10 years that Amit mentioned in his news release. Okay, an important time was 2007, when the Rockefeller Foundation convened a meeting in Italy, never forget this, to launch a new investment industry for social impact. The term impact investing was coined at this meeting. There was strong representation at this meeting from Latin America. A year later, Rockefeller established a $38 million fund to support new companies that would develop impact investing initiatives. This was a very smart move. The new companies funded were the Global Impact Investing Network, Gears, SOCAP, B-Lab, the Social Stock Exchange, and many others. In 2009, a little-known report called the Monitor Report was released. It was a call to action. I will never forget the excitement I felt when this report was presented at the annual SOCAP meeting in San Francisco. The focus was using profit-seeking investments to generate social and environmental good was embraced as the way forward, but it provided the blueprint to go forward. Now, the Rockefeller Foundation deserves a great round of applause for being the co-creator of impact investing. Impact investing was now on its way, and it was ready for prime time in 2010. The same year, this was really interesting, the same year we made our first impact investment in a new company called FrogTech, a social enterprise in Mexico and Bogota. I was so excited because my wife is from Bogota, so our first one made me feel really good. So now I'm going to shift and share some of my reflections about the driving forces behind the impact movement, beginning with microfinance. Microfinance was a huge industry that started in Bangladesh, and most people don't realize it started in Bangladesh and Colombia at about the same time. So when we started Halloran Philanthropies in 2007, microfinance was a major focus of our work. My favorites were Promujer, Kiva, Grameen, and Women's World Banking. We learned so much about the world looking through the sort of the lens of microfinance. The leaders of the microfinance industry were big supporters of impact investing. Now, my favorite microfinance organization, the one that's closest to my heart, is Promujer. Promujer served 250,000 women last year and dispersed over $200 million in loans. And the amazing thing is that Pomohe was founded by two women, Carmen and Lynn. They lived in La Paz. They were neighbors. They started to lend small sums of money to women in the neighborhood. They heard about Grameen Foundation and the famous Mohammed Yunus. They decided to travel to Bangladesh and learn about communal banking. They brought the program back to Bolivia, and the rest is history, except that from 1990 to the present time, they have served over 2 million women, and they have dispersed $3.6 billion in loans. It's amazing. It's interesting because Lynn was an educator and Carmen was a psychologist, and nobody had a touch of experience in business. They like to say we were able to succeed despite ourselves. So, the rise of impact investing has seen tremendous growth in accelerator organizations, often called startup accelerators. These organizations train and develop social entrepreneurs. In my travels, I have watched the startup of over 30 accelerators, and personally, I recognize the immense value as a foundation to support accelerators. Many investors work directly with accelerators to find investment-ready opportunities. It just makes good business sense, and it adds another level of comfort and confidence to the due diligence process. So my favorites, limit to 3, are Echoing Green with 700 innovators. Village Capital has worked with over 1,000 social innovators. And one of my favorite all-time organizations anywhere, New Ventures in Mexico, has served 5,000 small businesses over time. Amazing. Yeah. His name is Rodrigo VR, and he had twins also. She had twin boys. So, okay. So I've seen exponential growth in social entrepreneurship in so many different ways around the world. Hundreds of new and innovative social businesses were starting, and they became strong forces promoting impact investing. So here are some great companies I know that owe their support to impact investing. Clínicas del Azúcar in Mexico established 16 diabetic clinics to serve low-income communities. FrogTech in Mexico supporting 2,000 mom-and-pop shops with business services. EcoFuel Africa in Uganda produced clean cooking fuel for over 400,000 households. Mallow in Mali built the first production facility for fortified rice, the first. Sistema Bio in Mexico, Colombia, Kenya, and India produced 7,000 biodigesters that convert manure into energy. Sala Uno, amazing organization. Sala Uno, Mexico City, established 17 clinics to provide affordable eye care to 70,000 low-income patients. And now, sort of a little known, maybe not little known, organization is called Abvita in Mexico, built 7,000 houses in rural communities for low-income families. And IPETH in Mexico and Guatemala provided physical therapy education for 5,000 low-income students. And finally, Mexico in Mexico installed 20,000 solar energy systems in rural low-income communities. And the beat goes on and on and on. But just to give you a flavor of what has happened, what has been, or what is happening now. It was very exciting for me to see the development of impact funds in Latin America. The pioneers being Adobe Capital in Mexico, Inversor in Colombia, Vox Capital in Brazil. These funds supported 50 social enterprises with an investment of $100 million. Since then, as best I know, at least 10 new impact funds have been established in Latin America. So, international and regional conferences about impact investing, like what's happening right here, are so important to promote, spread the word, and be happy that we're part of this movement. Great examples, of course, are SOCAP, the CLIIQ, and the Latin American Impact Investing Summit in Quito. Also, we can't overlook the impact that the Hub movement has had in terms of supporting impact investing. And of course, there's the power of Nexus and its global reach. The impact movement in Latin America has become a fast-moving market. Impact capital deployed by local Latin American investors has doubled from 2015 to 2017. Microfinance remains the king of impact investing. It draws more than half of all impact capital. The success of impact investing in Latin America deserves a positive global headline. What's so exciting to me is that we, you and I, us, are all connected in some way to this great social movement. And we are the builders. We are the builders. Have to tell ourselves, we are the builders of a great new investment industry committed to social change. The good news is that we've only just begun. We really have only just begun. Social movements succeed when there is a trusted identity and a shared sense of purpose. When we believe we can make a positive impact through our financial decisions. And when we feel empowered to change the world through our investments. Impact investing has animated a generation of entrepreneurs and captured the imagination of investors. Impact investing has sort of connected the social conscience of philanthropy with the market principles of business to raise capital for social good. I love this quote. The world doesn't change one person at a time. It changes as networks of relationships are formed, like what's happening here, among people who discover they share a common cause and a common vision of what's possible. This is good news for those of us intent on changing the world and creating a positive future. Rather than worry about critical mass, our work is to foster critical connections. So our work is to make the impossible become possible. Impact investing has been a life-changing experience for me. It has connected me to amazing people who are committed to build an investment industry for good and create a world that we all want. Thank you, and the bar is open.